After a 2-year break, the federal government of Nigeria is considering issuing Eurobonds, and that's according to Bloomberg. Some questions of interest to you could be, why Eurobonds? Why this time? What are the implications of issuing Eurobonds? But not to worry, I will answer these questions on the show today. Welcome to Marketsquare. My name is Oluwakalumi Awe, and I'm glad to have you join me on the show today. Just before I jump right into the Eurobond talks, let's do the numbers. The NGX All-Share Index declined by 0.40% to close at 104,663.34 basis points yesterday, the 18th of March 2024, compared to the gain in the previous day that was around 0.99%. The total volume traded closed at 287.45 million naira with a positive advancement by 32.34%. The total value yesterday was at 10.80 billion naira with about 9,077 deals traded. UBA was the most traded stock by volume, and Transpower was the most traded stock by value. And on the foreign exchange market, the Netflix market, and on the foreign exchange market, the Netflix rate appreciated by 0.39% by closing at 1,602 naira. That's per dollar. The Bureau de change rate appreciated by 0.31% and closed at 1,600 naira per dollar. Since coming into office in May, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been seeking ways to attract foreign investors back into the country with a raft of reforms. And these include, like you know already, the devaluation of naira twice as the country moves towards a more flexible exchange rate, reducing the gap between the central bank's policy rate and yields on the short-dated paper it sells at auctions, and also the policy of removing costly fuel subsidies. Now that Nigeria intends to issue Eurobonds at a 2-year break, after a 2-year break, let's answer some questions. And I guess the first question many persons are asking at the moment is, what is Eurobond? Eurobond is a loan issued by a country like Nigeria in a currency other than its own currency and sold to international investors. Now, these bonds which are sold to international investors allow a country to access an influx of money from international sources into the domestic economy. This would mean the first time in 2 years that Nigeria will issue Eurobonds. And we don't know exactly the size of the Eurobond, which is expected before June, but there are expectations and speculations that Nigeria may raise as much as $1 billion in external borrowing this year to meet its spending needs. A big question is, why is Nigeria issuing a Eurobond? Or why are we considering issuing Eurobonds? Firstly, it's to fund needs. Recall that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu approved a 28.8 trillion naira spending plan for 2024 and is also targeting a budget deficit of about 9.8 trillion naira, which will be financed by borrowings from domestic and international investors and multilateral lenders all over the world. The federal government of Nigeria is looking to raise money for statutory transfers that is around over 1 trillion naira, recurrent expenditure pegged at over 8 billion naira, and capital expenditure which is close to 10 billion naira. Another reason the government is considering issuing Eurobond is to access foreign capital. Eurobonds can sometimes offer you lower interest rates than borrowing domestically from banks and companies. It also allows Nigeria to tap into foreign capital markets. The third reason could be that Nigeria is considering issuing Eurobonds to increase investor confidence in the Nigerian economy. Issuing a Eurobond can signal confidence in Nigeria's economy, attracting foreign investment And with more money with the government, it is believed that the government can invest more in the economy in terms of providing a more conducive environment for companies. And now, how does Eurobond work? How does it work? So let's say Nigeria is ready to issue Eurobond, for instance. What are the steps to be taken? First is that Nigeria will have to secure the service of investment banks. Well, there is a report that Nigeria has hired banks, investment banks, including Citigroup Incorporation, including JP Morgan Chase & Co., including Goldman Sachs Group Incorporation, to advise and manage Eurobond issuance. Although this was declared inaccurate by the recent report of the Debt Management Office in the circular released, I think, yesterday. After that, there is the definition of terms. Okay, after getting the service of an investment bank, there is the definition of terms. This is when the amount to be raised, the interest rate offered to investors, and the repayment period, which is the maturity period, are determined. Before the bond is now made public for sale, the investment bank markets the Eurobond to international investors, highlighting Nigeria's economic potential and the benefit of investing. If interested, investors purchase the Eurobond, essentially lending to Nigeria. Like you know already that purchasing Eurobond means lending to Nigeria. And Nigeria then makes regular interest payments to investors through the bond's life. After the maturity date, the principal amount borrowed is hereby repaid. But again, apart from the benefit part, apart from how it works, what are the potential risks of issuing Eurobonds? Nigeria will have an increased overall debt burden. According to the National Bureau of Statistics report, that the total external debt of Nigeria at the moment stands at over 31.98 trillion naira, while the total domestic debt stands at over 55 trillion naira. Nigeria's Minister of Finance, Mr. Wale, in an interview with Bloomberg, said this when asked about the potential of Nigeria issuing Eurobonds. Take a listen.
Currency that's non-dollar.
Well, I think basically the standard thing would be Eurobonds. And I think not in the near future, maybe towards the end of the year we would look, because well, I think basically the standard thing would be Eurobonds. And I think not in the near future, maybe towards the end of the year we would look, because we have a plan to boost internal revenue in particular. We've done a lot of efforts in terms of domestic resource mobilization. We expect a 60% boost in internal revenue to help fund the budget. And depending on how that goes, that will determine the timing and the amount of a tapping of the Eurobond market. But I must say that we do have support for such financing. The major issuers and the book runners have told us that there should be a window for Nigeria in the Eurobond market.
There you have it by the Minister of Finance, Mr. Wale. Now, this is my thought. This is not just about Nigeria. It's across Africa. The debt sales are coming back to life as government seeks to raise money after years of being priced out of international debt. And because of the rising global interest rate, several other countries across Africa, I'm talking about Benin Republic, I'm talking about Ivory Coast, I'm also talking about Kenya, are involved in this excessive rush for Eurobonds. As at March 31st, 2022, Nigeria was mentioned by the IMF as one of the countries that may likely move into debt distress, given the staggering about $100 billion of public debt stock. So far, some African countries have been able to sell their bonds, like Benin Republic, I mentioned the other time, Ivory Coast, and even Kenya. Nigerian dollar bonds due in 2050 and 2028 were among the top 20 in an index of emerging frontier market sovereign hard currency debt. For me, what is particularly worrisome about our consistent borrowing is the increasing accumulation of Eurobonds in our external debt profile while minimizing soft loans. Now, with the preference of Eurobonds at high interest cost and also the associated exchange rate risk, this may likely hurt Nigeria sooner than is expected and anticipated. The fact that the fiscal sector deficits are on the increase with the accompanying rising debt numbers are part of the weak links in the domestic economic environment in Nigeria. The poor revenue growth in a period of expanding government expenditure increased the budget deficit levels in the first quarter of year 2022, similar to the trend witnessed in 2021. The government may need to curb the appetite for debt. Presently, Nigeria is not able to benefit to a maximum level from the current upsides in the global oil market. We were not only able to reach the production levels to meet OPEC quota, the government deficit and public debt are going north at a time we should be writing down our debt profiles and even building up a buffer for the inevitable rainy days. Now, I haven't spoken about the cost of issuing Eurobonds and what this will mean, what the potential risks are. I think it's also good that we talk about the benefits of issuing Eurobonds. There is number one, there is the flexibility to choose a favorable country to denominate the bonds and currency. It means that we can choose which country or company is offering a lower interest rate and then plug in. Eurobonds also can help us avoid currency risk or foreign exchange risk. Let me explain that further. Let's say Nigeria needs $1 million to execute a project. For instance, by issuing a Eurobond denominated in dollars, the borrowing cost will be locked at the current exchange rate. That's clear. And this protects Nigeria from any future weakening of the Nigerian naira against the dollar. Another benefit is that Nigeria has access to a huge range of bond maturity periods that can be chosen by the issuer. This can also inspire international investors to come into the country and practically invest in different sectors of the economy. Now, I have mentioned to you the potential risk of issuing Eurobonds. I've also mentioned to you the benefit part. But we hope to get in coming days some reports or some feedbacks from the Debt Management Office in Nigeria as to how these bonds will play out. I'm guessing economists out there are wondering how much are we seeking to raise with the issuance of Eurobonds? And these questions I hope will be answered in the coming days as the Debt Management Office seeks to get some approvals from the House of Senate, and then I'll get to bring the feedback to you. So on today's economic fun fact, there was a big question there, which is who makes the best jollof rice? Now, see, forget about international conflict in West Africa. There is no debate between Nigeria and Ghana that is complete without the big question of who makes the best jollof rice. And bear in mind that Nigeria is a leading producer of rice in Africa. It holds the top spot on the continent for rice production. Globally, Nigeria ranks around 14th in the rice production cadre, according to data from the Food and Agriculture Organization. And you know, if you're a Nigerian, or whether you are a Nigerian in Nigeria or outside Nigeria, you know that we take our jollof rice very seriously, and there is rarely any event where you will not find jollof rice. So to know more about this jollof rice battle, check the link in the description of this video below to get access to our economic fun fact part of this Marketsquare show. Thank you for joining me today on Marketsquare. Do want to follow us on all our social media platforms. I'm talking about Facebook, talking about Twitter, talking about LinkedIn, even talking about YouTube. My name is Oluwapelumi, where I hope to see you at the next one.